Okay. Hi, Simon. Thank you so much for joining us for this Color Vision interview. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, all things considered.
That's great. A pleasure to have you here. So tell me, before we begin, we wanted to ask you, what is your color of mood? What color could define your mood in this moment?
Right now, I'm probably a purple with a mixture of sunset orange.
We have some purple here to go through with the interview, if that's okay with you.
Beautiful.
Okay, tell me, what memory would you associate with this color?
Happiness and joy.
Happiness and joy. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Joy. I have one specific memory of purple, which comes from childhood actually, and it was not my own. I have to say, it was my daughter Sophia. Childhood. She was in love with a purple bear called Barney, and whenever I see the color purple, I love watching. It always reminds me of Sophia and this toy, despite the fact that the toy was very annoying, because every time you squeezed his hand, he used to go, "Hello, Sophia." But
that's a very cute story. Okay, and tell me, what is your passion in life?
My passion in life is to live well, to live long, and to have a satiated life. And I think really for me, that involves lots of sunshine. I'm a big sun fan. I live in the Algarve in Portugal and have done for 20 years. And it satisfies me and my family in the ways that are my passions, which are living outside, eating wonderful, nutritious food, and being able to work and play in equal measures. And really, I suppose that's, we'll come on to this, but my passion in life really is to ensure that there is a fine balance between living rather than existing.
That's actually very beautiful words. And regarding your field of expertise, what do you do in life?
I organize exhibitions. I've been organizing events and exhibitions all over the world for some 30 years. And they're business-to-business shows, they're consumer shows. I've done them pretty industry agnostically, everything from Formula One to e-learning to generic business shows. And my latest launch is an event portfolio around mental health in the workplace and well-being and culture change in the workplace. And it's called Mad World, MAD being an acronym for Make a Difference. And it's a business-to-business event that we run in London, Singapore, New York. And we also have a year-round marketing platform called Make a Difference, which actually we're launching next month. But yeah, that's what I do.
Wow, that's great. Lots of things.
Yeah.
And regarding these weird times we're living now, how are you personally navigating this pandemic?
Well, I'm very lucky. As I said, I live in the south of Portugal, which is, I should probably work for the Portuguese Tourism Board, but for me, it's Europe's best kept secret for numerous different reasons. But I managed to, we've all decamped down here. I have two children, one who's, well, they're not children anymore, but Sophia and Max at 22 and 20. They live in London, are doing university and work and stuff, but they managed to get down here on about the 15th of March, and we've all sort of decamped down here. So we're managing okay. At the same time, I have aged parents who also live in the Algarve. So looking after them and shopping for them and shopping for all those that need shopping around here. We have a lot less density of population here. Look, so we're coping okay. I mean, traditionally for me anyway, I work from home most of the time. So the lockdown or the restrictions haven't really affected me during the day, but I fear and worry for others that may not have had experience in this, because one thing for sure for me is that this pandemic has focused people's attention on on their mental health, not just their physical health. And I think this is a really, really important thing. You know, I was saying to you about my portfolio of the events that we're running around the world, and we have 3 very, very big ambitions for that series of events, and that is to very, very quickly, if I may. But number one is to eradicate the stigma around mental health. We want to normalize mental health. We all have it. We have mental health, we have physical health, we have dental health, and you know, we need to look after it. I always use the analogy, actually, you know, we're taught at the age of 2 years old by our parents to clean our teeth twice a day. There's even buzzers now on toothbrushes to show how long you should be doing it for. You know, and so our dental health in that way is more educative than our mental health, which just seems bizarre. I mean, if we could spend just that amount of time on looking after our mental health every day, we would all be in a better space. The other 3 things for us is that we want to ensure that office culture, if you like, or corporate culture will only ever change really from top down. It's not like pop culture, street culture, food culture, fashion culture, which is street up. Really, if you want to change the culture of a workspace, it has to be from top down. We also believe, you know, it's not just top down, it has to be from bottom up as well. It's what I call the frozen middle, where you know, health, you know, sort of mental health and well-being falls at the moment, either in HR or occupational health or in HSE or in different places, maybe even at line management level. So if you have commitment and buy-in from the top, and you also have commitment and buy-in from the bottom, then what you'll thaw that frozen middle, that's what I call it. And that's really the only way to make proper cultural change in an office. So my second objective is to get the big purses and the big wallets in a room and get them to commit to both money to make that change, and also money over time. So it's a slow, sustainable, incremental, but systemic change. And that's really, really important. Otherwise, in a few years' time, we'll be back there again. So that's the second one. The third one for us is all around mental health awareness, mental health training. Traditionally, people do sort of like they have, you know, these various ambassadors or mental health first aiders, but it's our belief that everyone in an organization should have some form of empathy training, mental health awareness training, so that when that person should have the right to, you know, to say, I'm having a bad day, whoever they say that to knows how to signpost them. And then finally, just quickly, which is, I suppose, the real reason I got into this. I've been organizing events for 30 years. I write at the bottom of a scrap of paper, we have an idea of a brand, of a live event brand, and we create that from nothing. And we hope to create, sustainable annual growing events that are must attend for their industry sector. Well, for me, when I looked at mental health as a brand, I thought, really, it's not getting a very good rep here. So, you know, if you look at physical health, you know, you think about physical health and you see the images or the narrative around that, you think of a Nike store with pretty men, women, and children of all color and ages looking great. And then, you know, you say dental health, it's the same people, but with a ting in their teeth. And as soon as you mention the word mental health, people think of mental ill health. And the thoughts of people holding their hands and, you know, darkness and doom, which is so far from the truth. You know, we all have mental health. We owe it to each other to look after it and to look after those that are around us, as we do physical. And sometimes you will go from thriving to striving, you know, like you do when you get a cold or you break a leg with your physical health. So those are the 4 objectives, and that's, sorry, I've rabbited on, but they're really important to me. And they're from a place of real fire and passion in my belly that, you know, if we can make a difference to one office, let alone around the globe, I'll be a very happy man.
That's very interesting, actually. And actually, you talked a lot about the top-down situation, about mental health in the office and everything. And one of my questions was actually, Do you think leaders in the companies will focus more on their employees' well-being after this? Do you think this will make a change in that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt at all. I hate to mention the word a silver lining, you know, in this terrible storm and cloud that we're having globally. And listen, you know, my heart goes out to anyone who is suffering, and God forbid the loss that people have, you know, are experiencing and will experience in this. So I'm not, you know, really, I'm very conscious and empathetic and sympathetic to all those, despite me being in a slightly, you know, I suppose better position, you know, physically in the world. But no, really they are. I mean, what's happened is the pandemic has focused, and this is a really good thing for mental health globally, whether it's in the workplace or not. It has focused people's attention on mental health as well as physical health. In fact, I don't believe that anyone really, you know, has not experienced some form of, you know, whether it be grief, anxiety, stress, both physically and mentally, you know. And so, and frankly speaking, I don't know about anywhere else, but certainly in the UK, people are talking more openly about their emotions and their mental health. It's even led in the UK by the royal family. So that the sort of stigma is all automatically being eradicated, you know, and mental health is, you know, and I think that will go back into the office. We call it the big reset with a capital T, a capital B, and a big R, right? Getting back to work is going to be a big reset. And for me, what I want to see is that I think it will put, you know, mental health at the top of the business agenda and at the heart of the recovery plan for every business and organization. And it must, their people, you know, are the most important thing. And that's been exacerbated because of this horrible situation with CV-19, you know, and I think, you know, there's also a lot, it's not just about mental ill health. You know, mental health is about keeping mentally well.
Oh, right, of course.
You know, it's not about those suffering with mental health. You know, if you think about physical health, you know, you're training your, you know, your biceps or your triceps or your quads. Well, you know, mental health is about training and keeping those emotional muscles, you know, in a physically, mentally fit state or on a continuing basis. So, you know, whether that's through resilience training, I mean, frankly, there are actually 5 very simple things to do. They're standardized all over the world, which is, you know, exercise well, have a bit of well-being, sleep well, you know, the nutrition, eat stuff, you know. And so for me, I think there's an intense change that is going to go through all businesses. They are currently going through it. But with, you know, what I said, the big reset, they're all going to be going through a big change. So my advice to business leaders and businesses generally and everyone is that, you know, there are, you know, don't have a knee-jerk reaction and just go, right, we're going to do yoga or we're going to have, you know, make a whole load of mental health first aiders. The first thing you must do is assess, all right? Now, you have to assess where, you know, with your people, you know, talk to your staff and find out, you know, what are the things that are worth changing, you know, in your office space. You know, maybe talking to create some mental health outcomes, but the assessment is really, really important. There's actually a number of different, funnily enough, Valerie was talking about Unmind earlier, but that's a great tech solution to make assessments quite quickly. There are other assessments, but really just talking to people is a really good thing of doing it. Again,
thinking it through, not just going straight with the solution.
Yeah, think it through and make sure that you've got someone up the top of the chain, the C-suite, that has bought into this. Not just saying I'm buying into it and giving money, but really be buying it. I use the analogy of changing a computer system where, you know, the IT department dictates that everyone's going to use this new system. Well, everyone's got to buy into that, because if one department doesn't, the whole thing falls on its head. So for me, you have to have someone from the top, I come back to this, someone from the bottom, and everyone, you know, changing it. And by the way, you have to commit to a proper culture change. We're not just ticking boxes here and saying, we're going to do this, this, and this. Culturally, we have to be more empathetic. We have to be more aware, you know, to really make those changes. And that, by the way, changes globally from country to country. you know, in in Asia, for example, and in Europe, charitable giving is different. Understanding of mental health, so I think there's a lot of reciprocity between different territories and corporations, of which they can both learn and teach each other. So yes, sorry, answering directly to your question, yes, will it change? Absolutely. If it doesn't, there's a real issue as far as I'm concerned.
No, for sure. Because I also think this will actually come from new values, from what you say. You think society will actually create new values after this that will bring up mental health as a real problem, as a real thing that we need to care about?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, I'm a bit cynical, if I'm honest, about, people saying that the world will change completely and it will be a different world. I think certainly in my industry, everyone's saying that there'll never be any live events again, or not for 3 years. Well, I disagree with that. I mean, human beings are creatures of habit. They're also very social and tangible. And I think as soon as we can get back together in, maybe not in mass gatherings, but certainly in organized gatherings, I mean, it's tragic that people are not having funerals at the moment, or cancelling weddings, or 18-year-old birthday parties. It's just so unnatural for us. So I think things will I don't think the world will change as much as people think, but I do hope that we learn the lessons, that, living and is so much more important than, anything else, living well and being kind and living in the world that we live in and all those sorts of things. I genuinely believe that we will get back to normal quicker than we thought. And I hope that we don't get back there too quick so that we forget the lessons that we need to learn.
No, that's for sure. We need to remember and don't forget and move forward with the lessons that we learn. Absolutely.
And I'll go even further. I believe that every employee or employer will have a different view of their work-life balance. I don't believe in that saying, by the way. It should just be life balance. Right? And you keep work as part of that, as lots of other things. But I do think everyone will view it differently. And I would even go further and say, if you go back to your office, whoever you are, at whatever level, and they have not got a well-being culture in that office space post this event, I'd leave. I'd leave and find yourself a proper job with proper people who think about you and think about your future. And I genuinely mean that. Employers who will not look after their people or listen to their people, frankly, are not worth working for.
People who really care about their employees. That's great, Simon. Really, this was very insightful and interesting. Thank you so much for your insight. And I really hope we can talk again soon.
We do. I've got one more thing I want to say to everyone out there. Just one. It's one simple sentence, okay? I've heard about lots of things that people can be doing due to this COVID things, and there's thousands of things that you should be doing. Excuse me. But I do think, so routine, physical health, mental health, reading, music, so emotional music, getting into environments that are great. We talk about, what we do at mycoocoon and all that sort of stuff. But listen, all I'm saying to you is this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for everyone in some way, shape or form. So my final thing is to say, let's not count the days, but rather make the days count.
On those beautiful words, Simon, thank you so much. That was very profound.
Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon.